Yeah.
All right, yeah, and then they have the last two who accepted the project. I was thinking, that's, Long Road is blasting with more years. They are doing, if you go out and see this project, you can go to anytime. You might want to go. They are making it kids level from all 6 years. I mean, it's like handwritten. Yeah, I know. Different technology. Because Long Road using practice, and you go to people who are using fix, you know. Oh, yeah, everybody sees it. It's just been amazing to watch. I go out there at least once a week. They've given me a little helmet that says Long Road, and I've got a high vis badge. You know, nobody stops me and talks to me. After they're all done, they just pull up the stage, you can have a free conference. Oh, unbelievable. I mean, you know, I've probably moved it around, but I don't know what's going on. I probably have another 20 of those stars. But, yeah, it'd be an amazing thing. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta take the man. Yeah.
So one of the guys,
Who did you want to talk about?
Yeah, if anything. I can find out her name, I don't know it. I'm not sure.
That's not it. So you can take, I'll give you permission. Hey, Joe, do you have a copy of notes or something from the meetings? I have to type it up now. Well, speed it up, okay? That's what you wanted to do, right? That's the yes. You know, no, you just told me that few shots, so I think I'm going to
Okay. So yeah, I think you could suggest just to kind of, you know, pull it back a little bit. Yeah. Maybe I could do better. Okay. I mean, it's a representation of the footprint is what matters. You know, that's what we're trying to do.
We can start wherever you guys want.
Okay. Yeah, again, it's just a representation.
He plays favorites. I used to be able to print And I forget, I decided that I didn't know. You like that? Oh, Mr. Rose, come on. Okay, we're gonna get started with the, planning board session. We, have a, quorum, and, we, don't have any minutes from the last meeting, to review. Tracy is working on them. She's traveling, tonight, so couldn't be here, so we will, catch up on them, but, Danielle has asked that, everybody who has minutes to submit should, submit them because she doesn't have any posted, except for the ones that I submitted for the one meeting in August. She doesn't have any since June, so I need to catch up. The only, big thing on the agenda tonight is the conditional use application, for Sebago Road Solar, on Farm Mill Road. So, and, you guys will introduce yourselves, again.
Absolutely, my name is Andrew Keller from NH Solar, and I'm also the owner of Sebago Road Solar.
And I'm Larry Bastian, civil engineer for Adam Consulting.
Okay, so you work with, Jeff Evans.
I do, yes.
Yep.
And we had a baby, we did, but Adrian was
Right,
there, here.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, she had a baby, she's taking some time off, and she'll be back with us in, I think, what, December, everything today? So, yeah, so she's unable to be here, but, you know, that's why the date didn't change.
Okay, that's great. Well, it's been a while since you guys have been here, and, I remember probably the biggest issue that we had was where the access road was going to go in.
Yep.
Apparently that's all been worked out, and we have, new site plans and, an application. So why don't you take us through, refresh us on the, project and where we're at?
So I'll start out just to do a quick update on just kind of from a development perspective where we are, what we've done since we were last year, and now have Larry kind of walk through some of the site plan technicalities of what we've done to get to this point. I think the most important thing we want to share with the board tonight was that, and you may or may not be aware of this, there has been some change at the state level with the solar project. The state stepped in, and I want to use the term loosely, but it's kind of like a moratorium that's put in place for the solar project. The legislators decided that there was so much solar development taking place, they were concerned with some of the ratepayer impact. And so what they did is they put in a grandfathering price where if you got certain parts of your development completed by December 31st of 2020, your project, if you wanted to do up to the maximum system size under the current law, which is 5 megawatts, you were allowed to proceed. If you hadn't met some of those certain retroactive grandfathering, requirements that they put in place, then you were able to reduce your project down to 2 megawatts or less and continue under what I would consider the net energy billing version 1.0 program. And then, so what we did is because, again, it was retroactive steps, and we didn't know what was going on until we found out, and then we realized we either were or not. So our project was waiting for time to be 75 CNT, which was one of the grandfathering requirements. So just because where we were in the process, we just physically couldn't do it. So we took a couple of months to redesign everything down to that smaller system size, and made some adjustments within the design parameters. So we would have liked to have been here sooner, but that was some of the delays while we were working out some of the access issues that you brought up. So all of our access will stay on our property, won't be going to the property of other properties. I think those are probably the two most major updates I can share. we have had a PMC study done. The first round, we're gonna go through the second round of studies just for some additional information, and understanding about our project size and how we have to so on, based on some of the projects that are in the area. So that's, in process right now, and Larry and his team has been working on, the road design and making sure that we're getting self-stepped and ready to do our, as a full submittal to DEP. So we've had our initial conversations with them. But we wanted to take this point with the planning board and make sure that our assumptions and our thoughts on how to design this site were consistent with some of the fields to the board. And then we could be able to move forward with DEP and make that. So I think that kind of gives you the relatively high level. One other thing I want to bring up to the board's attention. I do remember our last discussion, there was some interest in some additional information, more solar generic type information as relates to our project and also to the industry. And one thing that we decided to do is put up a landing page, a web page specifically for the Baldwin Solar Project. That way you can share with the board. So at your leisure, you can go on. It's a public page. And the website is NH Solar Garden.
Could you say that again?
Sure, NHSolarGarden.com, and then / Baldwin Solar Community Solar. So Baldwin Community Solar. And that will take you to a page that has some, high-level information. Within the packet, there was some frequently asked questions that the board has to put together. So you'll see that on that web page. You'll see some information just, about where the industry is. You'll see some pictures of what the telephone poles look like, what our projects look like, so people are visualizing what these look like. And then there is some new information that the state put out there. The state is taking the position on working to standardize the decommissioning of these projects, what the requirements are going to be, so the towns, the landowners aren't left with a bad bone in 20 years from now. So the state has stepped in with a decommissioning kind of requirement of these projects. So I don't want to take it away from you, but it's not something that you have to burden yourself with necessarily. We have a state process that the whole industry is having to follow now. So that's going into effect as of October 18th, so coming up next week. So there's a link to that as well.
Could I ask, how is that different from the last solar project that came in front of us? We had a choice of whether we could specify decommissioning or whether the state did it. And we chose to let the state do it.
Great. I think that you're probably on the right track. I don't think that changes anything. Again, it's brand new. I only got the information a few days ago myself to start reading about it. But my takeaway was that's what you guys had already done with the other projects. That's exactly what we're going to follow that plan as well.
Why spend Baldwin taxpayers' money when the state's money is spent?
You guys, they have the resources, they have a website, they have a process you got to follow. Everybody has to follow it now, so it's kind of standardizing. So I think it's the benefits to the whole state industry, and again, takes some of the burden off of you guys to try to articulate what's the best way to decommission the system. But there is information in our frequently asked question document. There's also an article, third-party article about what happens to these panels after the projects are decommissioned. So there's just some supporting information I thought would be beneficial to the board. I think at your leisure, not anything that you go through line by line tonight, but just wanted to have that accessible to everybody to review at your own time. So I think that will kind of bring together some of the presentation and follow-up questions that the board has. You may have learned a lot already from some of the other projects you're working on with the extra time, but we just want to give you our perspective as well.
I think it'll be important for that sort of information to be incorporated into a PowerPoint deck on the solar project that we've reviewed and approved so far. The teams have prepared fairly comprehensive PowerPoint decks that hit all the highlights and explain things and particularly, have slides on what the benefit is to Baldwin, tax revenue, and all those kinds of things. And that's those have been very helpful for the public hearings that we have had.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, reminder, that was kind of where my head was going with this, at this stage, we can formalize it in the PowerPoint type, so that you'll see all that information you're looking for on that. Again, we want it to be something that can be used for the board now, could be for the public, hearing process, and other people could, maybe not be so overwhelmed during the meeting, we could check things out before, during, and after, so, but we're happy to kind of formalize that more of a package that would be more helpful. So, yeah, with that, I think that's just kind of on a high level, kind of on where we're at, and then I can pass on for kind of Larry to walk you through, and hopefully, you'll find your application complete, we can move forward with the public hearing.
You don't want to take the mask off the clock. Can you see this? It's basically in your package, I think it's the third drawing in sheet C2, the overall plan. We just colored it up to give some context for the implementation of the project. I'll just go through briefly some of the high points of the submission. The property itself, total aggregate area is approximately 84 acres. The project consists of the solar array on the rear area of the property, which itself is somewhere around 20 acres. I think it might even be less than 20 acres, the actual footprint inside the fence. And then the access road off of Carlton Avenue. And of course, looking at this, I think when the project was here before, there was some discussion of gaining some easement from the buyer, but we pulled it all back onto the property so that it's completely contained on the site. And the finish point is here at this turn, and it's spreading the needle between Gulf Brook and the neighbor. And trying, the initial attempt was to try and avoid any extreme impacts and stay away from DEP as well as we minimize impacts. But we didn't really gain any headway with the butter on that. So it's a minor point. We moved ahead. The road itself basically follows the footprint of the existing logging property. But the first portion in is still somewhat gravelly, but as you get in there, it's getting grassy. You know how those things begin to work. So it follows that around here, and then it would go on to a new road path from about here up to the site. Now, as you're probably aware, there's an existing snowmobile trail and snowmobile bridge across there, and that comes in somewhere here. And again, I think from the last meeting, there was discussion of, the applicant certainly is willing to make some accommodations and work with us folks, however that needs to happen. So the access road, the infrastructure is the access road, utility lines to the solar array. The proposal is to have those above ground utility poles follow the access road. And then when at the site itself, there's a hammerhead turnaround with an area for the electrical transformers infrastructure required to connect the solar panel array to the grid. The road itself we've worked on a number of different alignments there to get a reasonable grade on the road. It's right around just over 10% grade, which was doable because of the way we've done some cut in the upper areas, and I think it's a pretty good compromise given the grade on the site. The initial cuts that we did were somewhere in the 12 to 14% grade for access road, which I wasn't really comfortable with. But looking further at the soils in there and our ability to do some work and basically following the existing grade, except for a couple of locations where we're going to stop and borrow and fill some low spots to get up there. So it'll blend in, I think, pretty naturally. There's a stream crossing about 500 feet in, and then there's a wetland crossing about another 700 feet further in.
And the wetland crossing and stream crossing are what, will put us into some deep permitting, relatively minor, wetland impact permit for just over 3,000 square feet of impact, and then the stream alteration permit for the crossing. The other DEP permit would be a stormwater law permit by rule, which essentially focuses on erosion and sedimentation control. Drainage itself on the project, as you look at the grading plans, you'll see that we put in ditch turnouts to direct the runoff away from the roadway into the woods at every 300 to 400 feet, kind of spacing like that, so that it doesn't concentrate and wind up causing a point of discharge that we need to stabilize. So it's essentially a service road. It's 16 feet wide and adequate for emergency vehicles as need be, and for the needs of the property. Traffic, as you can imagine, is pretty minimal. There will be traffic, obviously, during construction for that part of the process, building the road and installing panels and everything. But it's pretty low impact activity as site construction goes. And obviously, once it's in place and operating, it keeps a pretty low profile. So it's from a civil engineering point of view, it's very straightforward. It's not really any stormwater management issues. There's always some low wastewater disposal and water supply use and that sort of thing. We did in the package break out one of the attachments, the attachment 3. We went through item by item the town's condition compliance statements and listed the requirements and then how we responded to that. So we're trying to keep it organized so that it's very easy to go through and see if, okay, did we comply with it? Are we satisfied with, with what we're saying on those items? And that's to be determined, of course, but, we feel we've covered things, thoroughly and adequately. But certainly welcome questions on anything that is in the package. And I guess with that, Andrew and I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have on the project and go from there.
I have one question. What does the topo look like for the razor?
The array is it's pretty gently sloped. I think it's in about 5 to 8% grade up there. It's the steeper area is through here, and we've got some grade coming up from here. Rises pretty well here, and it kind of levels off through the wetland area. And once you get here, is where we're getting into that kind of 10% really. Well, I think here it's flattened off. I think it's in the.
And the topo, I was looking for a topo.
Yeah, we can certainly get you that.
I'd like to see the topo across what the razor are.
Okay, let me grab my pen for you. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of regrading out there, minimal regrading, but obviously, with the cleaning and everything, there will be erosion control measures placed around on the downhill side. Typically, concentrate if there's any gullies and concentrate points of flow.
Put diversion dikes and so forth, and that becomes part of the erosion plan, which ties to the topo.
Yes. Yep, that's right.
You said what the slope, the maximum slope of the 10% one?
Up in the solar area, basically, the majority of those slopes are less than 8%. There may be a few places where
The road itself, though.
the road itself is just over 10%. Yeah.
Over 10%. What are you putting out the surface of the road?
It's a crushed gravel.
And then you have diversion dikes all the way down.
Yeah, it's a ditch system going down, and then those would turn out to a ditch turnout level better. Typically, they minimum 12 on levels better. Some of them maybe minimum better. I think those are shown on the profile. Yeah.
But then I was just wondering about the road itself, it looks like it's got a crown on the road. Yes. It's going up to a swale on each side of it, some places. Most places, it looks like you're touching a little bit of fill in one place.
Yeah, we tend to pretty much run at grade, you know, on average, you know, we put it in 18 inches before we out to 18 inches, so we try to be just a little bit above grade, because you mentioned broadly, and we fill that back in, so. Yeah, the goal, as you know, is to balance it out, not use 40 to fill.
It doesn't look like you're building a large place of fill.
Yeah,
Pretty much contained.
it's kind of an everyday process.
Why maybe
Close to those bigger custom buildings. And that's the kind of thing that really during construction, when the contractor's out there, if they hit me a call and say, hey, you know, I think that road that hot, you know, you're looking at the topo, LiDAR topo, you know, it's not always exactly what it is.
you did LiDAR?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it very close. Yeah, that depends on tree cover. Tree cover is pretty open, so the topo's probably pretty good. But, but we, you know, we also, you know, it's not unusual to make some adjustments during construction for the boundary. We're not seeing cases on particular subdivisions where we'll show a lot of spreader somewhere, and the topo is several feet on, and the contractor will say, what can I do in here? It's 4 feet in the air, so, you know, that's where you need communication, you know, right through the project, and we really, you know, try to do that on every project.
But you have to have two straight crossings, and one is like pretty much adjacent.
Well, yeah, one stream crossing, adjacent, and then the left. Two left.
How do you do the left?
Wetland crossings will have typically 2 culverts that are embedded, but it depends on the cover that you need, but there'll be an embedded culvert with some natural material inside of it, which is what we do to try to use it. And it just go out of water and move naturally back and forth. I think that details in it. Yeah, we typically show a small regret pad on each end. We've actually had DEP come back and tell us not to do that. But, you know, if there is an actual flow moving there, we'll just.
Yeah, flow there, and decent flow there, you need at least power.
Yes. So we had that discussion, and it's always worked out.
What's the status of the Carl Road? Is that a public road, or what is that?
Dirt road, town road, not maintained in the winter.
Town road.
If the town maintains it in the summer,
But
that's more, drive across the back.
That's what, place for?
What?
Place for?
We don't do that, it's
Yeah.
not an approved road,
Yeah.
it's just, you know. And what happens is the town gets paid by the state for all the miles of road we have, and then we don't have to put the money into the dirt roads, we put it in the tar roads. That's the state of Carmel right there, so.
So there may be some improvements that can be done to that road also.
Well, this is coming on very close to the beginning of Carmel. And here's where they come into Carmel Road, and here's where it comes in. Yeah, that's not. If you want to improve the town road, you'll have to talk to the town, you know, the road commission.
Maybe you'll need access, potentially need access from the road, so.
When you're doing the construction, you may find the level of service offered to the town isn't quite what you need.
You might find you need to drive on that road. And when do you expect to start putting that road in?
This project, based on some of the, there's two levels of the CNP permitting process that we're going through. One is at the local, the CNP level, and then there's another level that most every project is being studied at the regional level, at the basic regional level. And I believe that this project, I think that will be completed, I think, spring. So my guess is probably next summer or early fall.
That's where I was going with this, so you want to try to put, try to work on that Calvin Hill Road in the spring of the year.
You know, I can tell you just right now, by the fall, based on when we'll get through that second stage of that study, I'll just refer to, it'll be another 7 months. For sure.
Matt, Jason, do you have any questions or?
Sure. Can you tell us the relationship between SOW Solar Incorporated and Sebago Road Solar?
Sure. So SOW Solar is the landowner, and we lease the land from SOW Solar. So that's the project level LLC that we own, Sebago Road Solar, is the owner of the project, and that's who has the lease with SOW Solar.
And who's SOW Solar?
The landowner that we work with.
It's not yet.
No, it's just other entities that purchased the land, I think he purchased it. In spring days? I think, roughly.
Tempest Hill.
Yeah. And they'll see it.
Since then, that land has been for sale around your solar farm.
Yeah, I think the land over in the side, I think, was for sale.
And the land here in your picture is for sale, was for sale.
Okay, yeah, got it, yep. Yeah, so maybe that was before SOW purchased it, maybe?
Like a month ago. Maybe, it got on the internet.
Yeah.
That must be true.
Dr. Bill, yeah, maybe looking at, selling other parts of the land, but we have a lease for just that footprint and that asset.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have it in here, but where is the point of interconnection with, CNP?
So, the way that they studied it, Mr. Chair, is that they took it, the three-phase power was technically right down at the end of Carl Bruno Road, which I think kind of might flow off of it. So right on the corner of Sebago Road there, Route 11 is where the three-phase power is. So what they'll do is they study it there, and they'll bring the three-phase power up to the corner of our property, so technically our point of attention would be, at that point. Right, kind of the bottom of the narrow part of the property.
So the point of interconnection doesn't, cross anybody else's land?
No, it's not. So that's why that was the other reason we brought that up, so we're around water property to make sure it's continuous. So I guess that should be more accurate. The point of interconnection would be up at the site, but the actual extension of the three-phase power will come off the corner of the road.
I mean, that's something that we should have, should be, everything be clearer and laid out, or into the public hearing and stuff. No problem. When are you gonna file your main site law permit with the NDPC?
It's a wetland, natural resource protection act permit, and, it's one of the next couple of weeks, so it's not actually a second. And stream alteration permit, we're still waiting for some updated information from a wetland scientist, just to confirm a few areas. We should have that anytime now, and then, we'll get that soon. So it's should be within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
kind of discussion. Can you talk about your construction plan? I doubt you're going to take 18 roads up a 10% grade on a gravel road. You're planning to take a semi-truck all the way up to the site?
Well, the road will be constructed with, standard construction, 10% grade on an access road like this. Once it's surfaced and gravel, I don't necessarily think we'll see semi trails up there, but box trucks and single unit trucks can make that and turn around up there.
Yeah, and any truck that would be that size, if any of the, like, the panels came in on a truck like that, they would just have a wall down the bottom and then level them up and again right into the field.
Could you say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, so if there's any concerns about getting the larger truck up all the way up to the site, then we would just use like a long, with, like heavy duty tires that can, with a, forklift on the front of it, they also offload it and then bring it out to the site. And then usually if we go long, we'll bring it out, or if we have like a skid steer or a bobcat, type of piece of equipment, then bring it out and put the towel out throughout the field and then, spread it on the ground.
So you'd be looking down here on the Tarl Road to have a landing, to have a 3, 4, 5 acre landing.
Potentially, we wouldn't leave the equipment, we wouldn't leave the panels down, and they would be put up into,
I guess what we're going at is, so the assumption is you're going to bring large trucks, you'll need to bring some of the equipment in. So, if you're going to potentially drive those out, so if you don't get them out, you're going to offload them. So, are you going to offload the trucks? Are they going to be situated on the road now? Or will they be situated on your property? And if they're situated on your property, we probably need to know what that looks like. If they're going to be situated on Carlton now, that's a traffic thing that we have to address. Is that fair?
Yeah, I can't totally speak to exactly what that plan would look like, but again, there is a certain requirement, if we were to offload on Carver now, we need to make sure from a traffic perspective that.
But that's what we're telling you. We want you to tell us what you're going to do, so we can incorporate it into what it looks like. Carlton now is not a highly traveled road.
Sure, right.
But also it's not a very big road. So if you have an 18-wheeler there, you potentially will be blocking the roadway. So you need to have a traffic control plan at each end of Carl Burnell to control traffic. So we'll want to see that. Or if you're going to have the landing, which is what Joe mentioned, just show us that you can do a landing with your topography and your situation and how you plan to address that particular issue.
Okay. Yeah, I'll again, I don't know the construction myself personally, so I'll check it out construction company and get some feedback from that and Barry and
Just to follow up on that, could you tell us how you'd be doing the land clearing? How would it go?
How would that be done?
Yeah.
That would be, it's kind of thin cut over before the wind comes down, the skidder tails out there. You're going to have basic logging equipment, a small skidder, chainsaw. I don't think you're going to be going with a harvester or anything. It's just
I'll be together, but then again, back up to the question of land, on the logging operations in the land.
Yeah.
And where would we put that in the same place?
I think that would be the same location down by the road, wherever those logs get picked up. I'm not sure on how much marketable timber there is in there, bulk timber, whether they reach it. Possibly bring a chipper in for the erosion control stuff, but it's going to be more than the need for that for the project.
The tough render is that up here, and that those are two separate problems. I
be the landing.
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I think that is.
That's for the offloading of equipment, transfer from one piece to another, and then also for possible logging operation.
Yeah.
But
And I'd like to know more from the person you're gonna talk about construction. Because, I think that you're going to change your mind about what you're doing up here, where the solar array is. I think you probably need, even to unload down at the bottom of the hill and you bring it up this very slow way with a forklift. You're probably gonna want to have some area where you store your solar panels and your pilings and, your chain link, just everything. So that it's all there, because you don't want to start driving pilings and then up, the forklift operator's gotta go down the bottom of the hill. I think we have to talk about some of this.
Yeah, typically, the way all projects I've done is it's staged in a way that, your truck comes in with all of the like once the site is exactly ready for the solar system, you're bringing in all the racking equipment. And machines that power drive or screw the post into the ground are doing that. So all your equipment shows up to deliver and put it, within the area close to the array. That's step one. As they're finishing up and working their way out, and the racking is going onto those posts, then your panels are being delivered and brought out to the site and placed strategically throughout the site, so that way they can start physically being by manpower taken off and then obviously put up on the rack.
Sure.
So there's that type of construction sequence that we get a little bit more kind of a write-up from our construction, kind of might give a little bit more color on that. But again, it's not like every piece of equipment shows up right at the same time. So that's, that's why it kind of comes in three stages, I would say.
for instance, you might have a long lead time or short lead time on your transformers. And they might have to be sitting on site, some sites.
Absolutely.
Get ready for it.
You got it.
So maybe, if we can expand that T at the end of the road a little bit to provide a little storage there, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm getting at is we may have some areas like the landing down below and maybe some sort of a lay down area up top that you want to restore after you're done construction.
Yep.
And if so, we should talk about it. That's all I'm getting at.
Totally get it. And if we look at this, as you come into this, like, I'm just thinking off the cuff here that area you're talking about inside and, inside, might be like ready to go.
Yeah.
That's a you got it. And I think the thing that, and I keep notes on this, I think part of one of the things we're trying to ensure is that we don't trip ourselves over this road, over the 20-acre impact.
Right.
So if this isn't, let's just say, this is contained, so maybe we're using this 20 down. If we go too far out, then we're tripping over, we don't want to go that slow. So I think that's the
Maybe hold off constructing some of that.
exactly. You got it. So that's
I just foresee those construction projects, and I'd rather talk about them ahead of time.
But I appreciate the perspective on maybe the lower landing area because that's a great issue. I'm sorry you have to talk about that. And then I'm happy to check with our construction. The firm that we're working with is doing a lot of projects in this property. So, different types of.
Sure.
Yeah. They'll know might be some guys that can share.
Would areas unload trucks down at the bottom of the hill affect your 20-acre limit?
I don't think so. I think because of some of the, some of the adjustments we made on the design, I think we're gonna be okay because most of the other projects that we've been doing this, we've been well below the 20-acre mark. So if we have an extra acre or whatever we need for that area, I don't see it being, something good to scale.
Fence scenario, 20 acres, not 45 acres.
It's representative, I think it's creeping down, it's kind of redesigned.
Somewhere around 20 acres.
Yeah, 20 or less acres. I think the acres is between 16 and 18 acres, again, depending on the size, the length of the road.
I like those ideas about staging and pieces. I think the pieces that are open, it's meant for staging.
Yeah.
Come in as a phase two and just complete the requirements.
Shows those two pieces of land, that's still in tree growth, but that's, it's still in tree growth, or what one was just the
If I remember correctly, that's been taken out, you guys have taken them out. Like, carrier, yeah,
Okay. You must have done that.
from carrier.
I'll have to check with Debbie, to make sure for you.
It's good, you're cautious, I'm just making a mistake. But I think I remember that being taken out. Because people were amazed that it was taken out of the tree code before the permit was, before they got the CUP, I mean, it was like.
I think I heard something about that, but I don't want to get quoted yes or no.
It's a huge one. You're a better politician than I am. Matt, is this land that's in Sebago that's connected with this land you were talking about within the quarry?
Yeah, east.
So it's right there.
Yeah, so if you order this one that you get tonight, this is my house, this is the land that you can put the solar package on, this is the rock quarry.
And that's, when you flip through the sunset.
First page, it says balls, so I don't want to
Yeah, so that's, this is, yeah.
We're already getting offers on the property that we own.
Really?
So that's really.
I only got 3 letters last week.
Wes, do you have any questions or comments?
I have 2 comments to make. When you finally, go through all of forms and the state of DOT, I have a construction permit. And I'm gonna hand you a copy of this, you can use it as a worksheet, okay, know what's going on. And, fee for the permit, is based on the cost of the project. Do you have any idea how much this, little weekend project's gonna cost you?
Not 100% yet. The utility stuff is still waiting on that, because they like, hold your process.
It's a wild guess.
Typically it's about, right around $1 per, like $1.20 per watt, so that puts it at about. About 2.4 million.
How many panels you have? About 16,000?
No. I think we're at about 5,300, on this stuff.
5,000, okay.
Yeah, the ones you might be referencing are for the 5 megawatt project.
Okay.
It's small.
Okay. So we'll cross that bridge when the time comes,
Yeah, it's about 5.
the reporting of cost is depending on your honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
I have no source to verify cost checking.
Yeah, typically when we've done this in the past, when we do our building permit cost, it's based on the part of the project that's based on the structure. So, after wrapping the cost of the site work, the cost idea of like, the pad for the transformers is usually, in my.
And the permit's intended, the cost includes everything, not just panels, making the roads, the stands, electric connection for the inverters. Okay, good enough.
Wow, do you have any?
No.
What?
Lots of them, if you have them, that's great, I'll tell you that. If you only get 5 degrees back, that was there. You get 10 degrees on the hill.
The wall that has a big,
Those L's should be chained on,
just a
one train follow.
Yeah.
That construction line. And I think you did the name on that, both you guys, you started something way down there, up and by the area of the panels, it'll be way better than trying to carry it.
Yeah, that's great feedback, we appreciate that.
So, you know, we probably have mentioned some of the things I'm gonna ask about in here, but more in a summary fashion when you, address the, standard questions that the planning board has. But I have kind of an overarching sense of incompleteness with the submission, and that's just based on having been through 3 of these so far, that when I look back at everything that's been submitted prior to us having a public hearing, you know, I've got, we have a lot of documents. You know, we talked about the point of interconnection, and some of this is probably what you're gonna do in a couple of weeks, which is the, site law application, the DEP application. But we had, you know, wetland and stream delineation, you know, it was a full suite of required environmental studies to evaluate, the presence of regulated natural resources and minimize environmental impacts of soil surveys. There were rare forest surveys, you know, the, proverbial, floral, pneumonia, wildlife habitat assessments, vernal pool habitat assessments, stream delineation. So some of that may be done or it may be in process, but these are all things that we're used to seeing and having before we, you know, move to the point of first it's site walk, and then that's followed up by a public hearing. And if we have a public hearing, we have to be really ready to vote on the project. So, you know, there's those things.
Did we take it, did we?
Yeah,
Went down the checklist that they.
you know, we do have a wetland delineation report, we've got soils and, the vernal pool information, so, yeah, that stuff can be.
And, the wildlife habitat assessment, the rare forest survey, that you mentioned.
Yeah, typically, that's like checking the DEP's records for the area of higher level, and then if that indicates a potential, major plant, then you need to do the survey. And we've gone through those checks, so we.
Putting it on here, Mr. Chair, that you would like to see that in this package, say, even though we're saying it's done, we can provide proof of that.
Yeah, well, we have to have everything together because, when we, approve the project, you know, we'll have a list of conditions, and one of the things that's in the conditions is a laundry list of all of the submissions that are in there, and we don't have them.
Yeah.
We're gonna need them. I think you've got the stormwater management plan to address runoff from the project in here. At least, pictorially, you have it. I don't think narratively you have that.
That goes to my comment about the total. But it gives me the information I need to evaluate how the drainage is actually.
Yeah. So are you gonna have any detention ponds or?
No.
Okay. And then, the erosion and sedimentation control plan, the soil surveys to assess the site limitations and, address, thorough engineering practices. Yeah, and then the site law process, have you been through the pre-application with the NDEP?
Yeah, we had, contact with, DEP regional office. And it's not a site law project, we are not submitting a site law.
Yeah, we're not going to, we're not, this is an applied megawatt project, like, it's just a chair.
It's less than 28 to 28.
That's only in excess of 28.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the special certification.
And then we talked about the documentation on the decommissioning.
Yeah, that's, and I appreciate for that, the frequent asked question, part of the traffic as well.
Now, the frequently asked questions, is that just general answers to any New Hampshire solar garden project, or are those specific answers for this project?
General. But make sure that you're picking up some of the questions that we have heard, in this discussion.
And I can share with you some of these documents, because they're public documents, that give you an idea of the type of stuff we're looking for, but, you know, the tangible benefits, the project, how the project supports the community and the environment, you know, the community benefits, is there, a minimum dollar amount per megawatt of installed AC capacity, you know, comes back to the town and does it increase each year, you know, that's in combined taxes and community benefit payments.
The tax payment makes sense, but I don't believe there's no benefit to the town, because the town hasn't signed up to get it. I think the town's already getting the power from the other solar project, so if you've already signed up to be a member of, one of these other projects, you can't sign up for more than one. Is that what you're referring to?
No, so this is the last project we approved, Baldwin Six Solar is committed to a minimum of $2,000 per megawatt of installed AC capacity, increasing by
Yeah. No, that's,
2% each year in combined taxes and community benefits.
yeah, that's what I'm, so the extra term confusing, but yeah, no, that's the payment and the tax structure that absolutely is consistent with ours, so. I'd love to see it, if you see still kind of share some of that, we make sure that we kind of formulate our storyline for our project, but follow through that.
They can guarantee us a certain amount.
Yeah.
If the state requires a higher amount, that they would match, probably for that.
Yep. Yeah, that's following the decommission plan, like if we gave you like a decommission plan that X, but then the state requires to do Y, we obviously let it fall under the state requirements, so. Yeah, if we get a copy of that, that'd be super helpful, and I think that, to Larry's point, like, we checked the checklist to see that we did it all, but I think we came up short on providing the actual proof of it, which we should probably should bring more here.
Yeah, we'll double check, I'm not sure, make sure that we got it.
No, I mean, I would have, yeah, we're good.
Yeah. And one other thing that I'll, provide to you, in fact, I brought somewhere in here. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you this copy. One of the things that we have to do on each of our projects is, identify the, proximity of the inverters in the project to the 4, hand radio operators involved to look for potential, impact and frequency, interference, and then we have a clause in the conditions about kind of a correction process if there are any problems like that. And I'll provide you with copies of the CUP conditions that we have done on some of the past solar projects, so that you know what we're looking for, what we're going to be discussing.
Could you speak to that part? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. So, when we did our first, solar project, you know, some people in the town were concerned about, frequency interference from the inverters, with their, hand radio operation. And, so we, together with the, applicant, we did a mapping of where the inverters are and how far these hand radio operators for them. We have their names and addresses, which is actually available at this link. I mean, I looked it up publicly, www.radioqth.net/lookup, and I'll give you this.
Okay.
And then we just lay out, how far they are. We have one solar operation working already, and we haven't gotten any negative feedback, but, we do have a condition in there that if there is any, radio frequency interference, that we'll work with these people to resolve.
So that will have, like, tell me where those people that have those, and then we can compare that to where our site is, so if it's, 5,000 feet away from this year, 5 feet away from this year.
Supposedly, historically, there were some of the inverters had some leaky frequencies, and the radio frequency stuff. There was an allegation that there may be some impact, but every applicant assured us that there is none, and there wouldn't be any.
It is an older technology.
Yeah, it is an older technology.
Yeah.
And we were totally sure that there's no issue. But by the same token, we also want to respect people's rights who are over here. So we created this system where if in fact somebody thinks there is an interference, we try to work it out. If we can't work it out because of the board, then we're pretty reasonable, and really help with that.
Okay, now I have a project I'm doing in Massachusetts that's next to the radio station tower, like literally, like if you go right by and the array is like 50 feet away. So we actually we hired somebody, now this makes more sense to me, because we hired somebody who came in and did that, because that was, difference between your hand radio versus, a huge commercial radio tower. So, now I have better context for that. So yeah, that's an easy thing we can check out.
And your closest one is, who would you say at the bottom of,
I only know one person that has been radio.
so at the bottom of Mark Street, the guy across the street from Cody, he's one of, let's say, what's that, half a mile, I think?
This year's.
I'd say
Great.
about.
So this is a great idea. So we can do this and just confirm.
Yep.
Make sure. Got it. Okay.
Brought a bunch of things to at least see if it'll help us along like that.
2,000 feet.
So probably not. Yeah, so you got some serious stuff on it.
What is it, 5 feet, so 1,500 feet.
Okay. Got it. Perfect.
The last thing we did, there was actually, besides our own public hearing, the, solar companies and their, technical, support people, they held public information meetings that had to be held prior to submission to the Department of Environmental Protection. Yeah, are you guys gonna have one of those? Because you're not able to do that.
That's required.
You guys are running a loaded radar here.
We're under the new laws.
And as far as the public information meeting, that's a requirement of the site law project, and we're not doing that.
Matt,
Yeah.
if I could interrupt you.
Yeah.
View shed. Where would your project be seen from? We're beginning to hear that people object to the view of a solar farm. So that will be a question. I'm not saying you have to do something in particular other than tell us about it. We've seen computer-generated images of what other solar projects or one solar project would look like.
Okay, still not like exactly, but
which, if you only have an objection to,
We'll find out in a couple of months.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think one way I address that now is just to kind of review the distance between the array and where the next closest home is, and kind of take a look at where it is, if it's above or below.
Main Street. Yeah, the street, it's just, some of the major streets,
Yeah.
I didn't really see it from the major streets.
Right. Got it. Yeah, there are people that.
Yeah.
because the way these solar projects work, you guys don't control very much land outside of what you use.
Right.
So you don't control whether you're in a view shed or not.
Right, exactly. True.
We haven't figured out a way to approach that.
I don't see any issue, but, I mean, I see there's one new house that, I don't know if it's actually on this map. There's one new house on Southern Road, front of the wall. That's really the only person at this point that I can see would see any of that.
I think the issue might be people driving by.
Or maybe, but.
Well, I'm the 11.
Unless there's other clearing lanes after that.
Well, that's why I was trying to have a way to control that.
There are house lots, and possible.
Yeah, maybe a look at that is the limits of the clearing outside of the array to the property line. What are the heights of those trees? How many feet of trees are we leaving?
Yeah.
To our property, we don't control, we don't control in our property line. So, okay, let's say there's, 150 feet of trees that are going to stay, and we take the measurements to say, okay, they're 50-foot trees, 75-foot trees.
Yeah.
You have to look up and over,
Wonderful.
something like that, maybe that's a perspective.
Yeah, that combined with looking at the topography, how that relates to nearby roads. It shows you like.
Okay, good. So I think this is Jay, what you were sharing, right, what you've done in the past, you guys like the information you want to see, recognizing that everything you've seen so far is much bigger than ours, some of those may not have, just like a lot of stuff, but we can extract that out ourselves, and okay, put that aside, it's not relevant, and over here, we'll focus on kind of following the path that you guys like to see, and we'd much rather do that than try to research it.
I was reading of what they're doing with their solar farms, I guess up in Augusta. And this is probably to what Joe was saying, that, they put a moratorium on it or something because there were so many and there were reshed concerns and things like that. And I read one line that I said to myself, why didn't we think of that and put that as a condition in all of our CUPs? And that was that they are adding a condition for all the CUPs that during construction and particularly during maintenance, that there is no use of chemicals, weed killers, things like that, because of seepage, because all of these are around wetlands and ponds and streams and things.
We would happily do that, that's part of our plan, that we don't use any chemicals for any kind of treatment. Some of the plans that we're looking into would be some that's more of a, for something like a home, like plans where you're using wildflowers, grasses that, that sort of maintain as often, that rangers can't come to habitat around the array as well, kind of trying to incorporate those all of our projects, so that would be a condition, we would absolutely no issue with it all. Yeah, fair.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments for Andrew or Larry?
Can you tell me what your, the landing website was again?
Of course, yeah, so NHSolargarden.com/Baldwin Community Solar. And get there, so like, you'll know you got everything because of the actual like that logic and make it, and then, yeah, it could be some regular, Richard, up in the stuff in there.
So,
You said this was a 2 megawatt?
when we're done here, I'll, show you some of these PowerPoint slides and things that I've been talking about. I'll get your email so I can send them to you. I see what the board thinks, but, it seems like we need to have at least one more meeting to discuss all these topics that we've talked about, before we, schedule a site walk and then a public hearing. And, because of the, notification requirements, this gets a little drawn out because we may be able to meet again on the, 28th of October, but then after that, we have to give, 10 days notice to have a site walk. And then after we have the site walk, sometimes we announce the site walk and the public hearing at the same time, but, it's that 10-day notice and everything. So this is gonna, drag into November and we have Thanksgiving, so we're gonna be into, probably December and stuff.
Yeah, that's there. I mean, I think between the DEP process that we want to kick off after we get feedback from the board and make sure we kind of tidy up that, the incorporation of landing areas that you spoke of. That process is going to start the clock there, which is, doesn't happen quick. So we've got that work with the city, we've got that window. Some of the street study work we do with CMP is kind of inside that window, and then also that secondary kind of transmission level study over into the spring. Not that I want us to wait that long, obviously, but, we understand that it could take another couple of months here to get through the process of this.
Mr. Chair, since you're talking about scheduling, the next meeting, as you said, there wouldn't be enough notice that we aren't ready.
Right.
And the meeting after that is November 11th.
That's right.
And if we decided that our next meeting that we could, if we were ready to go, we couldn't notice in time for the November 11th meeting.
Right.
The meeting after that is the fourth Thursday in November, which is traditionally Thanksgiving, and I will not be here that night.
We're all gonna be at your house, aren't we?
Absolutely, you're all invited.
That's what we have to do.
And then we have one Thursday in December, and then we're probably gonna kill the planning board meeting on the 23rd.
So what I was actually getting at was the 2 inches of snow rule.
Yeah.
We may start bumping up against that.
Yeah.
We don't like to, especially on mountainsides, go look at land when there's so much snow on the ground that we have no idea what's underneath it.
Yeah.
So that may, we've gone out in the snow before.
Mm-hmm.
So, given what Joe said, if we meet on the 28th, as soon as we can get a sidewalk notice into the Shoppers Guide is, November 3rd, and then,
And we need 10 days.
and then, we're past the 11th, because 10 days is the 13th, so we wouldn't be able, we could do the site walk, sometime during the week of the 14th or the 21st or something, we can get the site walk in, but we wouldn't be able to do the public hearing until December the 9th.
So the sidewalk doesn't have to be on a regular planning board day, no?
It's generally.
Yeah, that seems to be the key point, to get that done before the snow flies.
Yeah, we'll get that done.
We can work with public hearings, I think the important thing to say, well,
Right, that's easy too.
Right, that's for your right call. Okay.
We can have the sidewalk on a Sunday.
Any other comments from, Andrew, any questions, comments from you?
No, I think we're clear on that. We will key on from the site engineering perspective, we'll key on the ordinance requirements and that, just make sure that we hit everything.
Good. So I don't think we're gonna be here too much longer, and I can show you some of the stuff and give you a technical. So the next item on our agenda is an update from the CPF.
I had an email today from an attorney asking about Carol's land across the street.
What?
I had an email from an attorney today asking about the Carol's land across the street from the subdivision. I'm under the impression and memory that he did have the CEP if he did qualify for a subdivision.
Yes.
Which would be that one building lot that Lenny did. The leased land for the solar farm and the land he's retained for himself, that's not going to be used. That's okay, that's a big question my answer to. Okay. That's about all the comments that go around.
Thank you. On administrative issues, I think everybody got a copy of the email that was sent out. I called Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, and none other than Lee Day himself answered the phone and had a nice chat with him and told him that the town, the selectmen and the planning board were interested in a number of things, and if I can remember them all, it was, I think, first and foremost, is the comprehensive plan, getting some professional support to update the comprehensive plan, and then there's revisions and updates and alignment with state regs for our ordinances, the subdivision ordinance, and specifically in terms of the land use ordinance, there's the topic of medical and partying, what's that? Recreational marijuana. I like partying. Recreational marijuana. And then there was that interesting topic about the small homes and the alternative dwelling units, or whatever they're called, that there have been some laws passed at the state that we need to work, consider in our land use ordinance. And then, of course, there's the whole topic of the fact that we don't have anything in the land use ordinance specific to solar farm uses, and whether we incorporate that into the land use ordinance. So I went over all that with them, and the idea is that he's gonna come to, that, working session, meeting, I guess, what was it, the 26th? Yeah, the 26th is the next workshop. So I thought I might get back to him if that was copacetic with everybody, and, we can dialogue, I mean, we'll ask him to present to us, what they could do, how long it would take, what the involvement would be of, people in the town, particularly for the, comprehensive plan, and then, see where it goes from there.
Sounds good.
Okay, so, shall I get back to him and tell him that the 26th is a go?
I don't think I'll be there.
What's that?
I don't think I'll be there. I have business stuff, so I'll try.
Well, I mean, I always keep you guys posted on the, emails and things, so, if you have any input about things that we should particularly ask or focus on, or things like that, you can always go away and offline.
Yeah, sure.
Great, okay, all right. Does anybody have any other, topics, or concerns to bring up?
I just wanted to say, before the meeting, I talked to you about how I thought nostalgically about our collegiality in the old planning board room in the old town office. And just by shaking up how we sit, I find myself interacting with Matt and David over there more than I did when they were sitting down at the end of the table 3 miles away.
Yeah.
And, if we could work on that sort of thing, it would be really great.
We should either move to the, move the meetings back to the planning board room, or we could just set up, kumbaya seating, in the, yeah.
Kumbaya seating.
Decide to move back into the smaller, the room that, what you guys use for plumbing meetings. I know it has a loud unit in there, but that does, it's the only unit in the building that actually brings the fresh air. So for the unit, so that would be the room that I would want to have when you would use it. This is a big room, but there's no air conditioning, no fresh air. That's the only room in the building that has fresh air.
That's great, very good points.
I saw it myself.
Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn?
So, I have a question. So, several meetings ago, we had this question about, subdivisions and remainders of subdivisions, and the fact that, the mother lot still remains part of it. I have run the records back there, and I cannot find an inventory of subdivisions. And I could look on the map, I guess, and see where it looks like places were obviously subdivided, but it wouldn't necessarily tell me what lands are controlled by subdivision. As far as I know, right, that huge chunk of land, it's under subdivision, but if you just look at it from a map point of view, you wouldn't infer that. And, I'm just curious as to who has the corporate knowledge of subdivision.
I think it's the collective knowledge.
Yeah, because the goal is,
It's only a factor.
the goal is to, have a list of when the CEO looks at a piece of property, you go, oh, that one's in a subdivision, and, not issue it again.
But should it be in the deed? And shouldn't you have to look at the deed in order, the deed should have a reference to the fact that it's subdivision.
I don't know what they do, but. you redo the deed for the mother lot, when you split off, you usually deed that and leave your mother lot deed alone, don't you?
Yeah. No, that was the Joe Brown thing, it's been flawed, it's still showing.
And we reversed that, we took it out of the subdivision,
Yeah, but
it's still shown.
yeah,
Yeah,
the wall credit stuff, that's the first thing I noticed when I looked at this map.
yeah,
You know, like Matt says, there's one house on the end of the road over there.
yeah.
If there's, that other house on Route 11, that must be, it's gotta be right on the town line or it's in Sebago then, right?
And what is it, farmer one?
Yes, that's up on the hill. That's Baldwin? So that's a.
So he goes to Baldwin School, so, I mean, he went to Baldwin School.
Oh, they did?
The one like farmer?
Yeah, I want to move that into the back road now, on the black, it's right at the end of the rock. It's that dark hair woman, she always dropped the kid off right at the corner, but.
Yeah, it's gotta be, because the town line is just a little bit ahead of it.
I can tell you everything about half an hour. Very nice to his daughter, I think. She always dropped the kid off for the bus at, Jewish house. Right there at Jewish house, she parks in the Jewish house. 5
By the way, the workshop is Tuesday, November 9th. If he's able to meet with us at the selectmen workshop meeting scheduled for Tuesday, November 9th. That gives us a little bit more time to plan for it and work our schedules out. And get clear on the things we're going to discuss Tuesday, November 9th. Okay.
Move to extend the meeting.
I don't hear a second. Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion once more.
Second. All in favor? All set. Thank you, folks. I told you this would be fun, man.
And I'll be dead before I have to worry about taking yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only